All right, let's talk about AI. If you're in this world, you know the real conversation isn't just about what cool things can we build, it's about how do we build them right and responsibly. Well, today, we're unpacking the official guide for that exact question, the NIST AI Risk Management Framework. We're going to break down exactly how it works.
You know, AI has this incredible potential, right? It could completely change things in medicine, make our daily lives way easier. But with all that power comes some pretty serious risks. We're talking biased decisions, major security vulnerabilities, and all sorts of unintended side effects. So for anyone actually creating these systems, the number one question has to be, how do we get a handle on all that risk? So, before we get any deeper, let's make sure we're all on the same page. When you hear NIST talk about AI risk, this is exactly what they mean. It's not just about what could go wrong. It's a two-part deal. What's the chance of it actually happening? And if it does, how bad is the damage? Getting that balance right is what this whole framework is designed to help you do.
So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start by laying the proper foundation with govern. Then we'll chart the course with map, take stock of everything with measure, and finally figure out how to act on what we find with manage. And we'll see why this is a journey that never really ends.
Okay, this is super important and something to get right from the get-go. This framework is not a checklist you just tick off once and you're done. Think of it more like a flexible game plan. Every company, every AI system is totally different. This is meant to be a continuous process that you shape and adapt to your own unique situation.
At its core, the framework is built around these four functions that stack on top of each other: govern, map, measure, and manage. So let's dive in and see what each one of these actually means in the real world, starting with govern.
First up, we've got govern. And this is exactly what it sounds like. It's all about laying the foundation. Before you can even think about mapping out specific risks, you've got to have the right culture, the right policies, and the right people in place.
This really gets to the core of it. Think of governance as setting up the rules of the road for how your organization deals with AI. If you don't have clear policies, managing risk just becomes a guessing game. This step is all about making sure everybody knows their role and is accountable for it.
So what does this look like in practice? Well, it means building a team where people feel comfortable raising a red flag. It means having diverse voices in the room, because honestly, that's one of the best ways to spot blind spots and potential problems you might otherwise miss.
A huge part of governance is just deciding how you're even going to think about risk, and it really is a balancing act. You've got to weigh the potential impact if something goes south against the actual likelihood that'll happen. Nailing this balance is how you start to figure out what really needs your attention.
And this is a really practical way to visualize those risks. A lot of places use a simple red, amber, green scale, just like this one. The red stuff, that's your drop everything high priority list. The green stuff can probably wait. It's a really straightforward but effective way to make sure you're focusing your energy in the right places.
Okay, so once that foundation is solid, it's time to map. This step is all about getting the lay of the land, really understanding the specific context you're working in before you make your next move.
The map function is where you go from thinking about risk in general to thinking about your specific AI system. You have to ask the hard questions. Where is this thing actually going to be used? Who is it going to affect? And what are the lines we are absolutely not willing to cross? It's all about strategic foresight.
This means getting crystal clear on the system's purpose, and, this is a big one, actually talking to the people who will be impacted by it. And this is also the stage where you have to ask a really important question. Do we even need AI for this? Sometimes the safest, most trustworthy solution isn't AI at all.
So we've laid our foundation and we've mapped out the context. Next up is measure. This is where we get down to the nitty-gritty, developing real, reliable metrics to actually track the risks and benefits we've identified.
And this is just so key. Measurement is the bedrock of trust. You can't just say your AI is fair or secure. You have to be able to prove it with hard data. At the end of the day, if you want trustworthy AI, you need trustworthy ways to measure it.
The work here is a mix of deep technical testing and social analysis. You're doing rigorous testing, which you'll often hear called TEVV. That's testing, evaluation, validation, and verification. But it's about more than just accuracy. You need specific metrics for things like fairness, for privacy, and for how well the system holds up under attack.
A huge piece of the measurement puzzle comes down to these three ideas. They sound kind of similar, but they're really different. Transparency is just, can we see what happened? Explainability is, okay, how did the system actually come to that conclusion? And then there's interpretability, which is the most human part. Can you explain that decision to me in a way that actually makes sense?
And that brings us to the final core function, manage. So we've set up our governance, we've mapped the terrain, we've measured the risks. Now what? What do we actually do about it? This is where all that analysis turns into action.
The manage function is really where the rubber meets the road. You take all those risks you identified and measured, you hold them up against the risk tolerances you defined way back in the govern step, and then you make a decision and act on it. And this really all boils down to smart prioritization. You can't fix every single thing at once, so you tackle the biggest, scariest risks first. That might mean rolling out a plan to lessen the risk, or in some cases, it might mean making the tough call to pull the plug on a system entirely because the risk is just too high.
Generally, when you find a risk, you've got 4 main ways you can respond. You can avoid it, just decide not to do the thing. You can mitigate it, take steps to make it less likely or less harmful. You could transfer it, maybe through an insurance policy, or you can consciously accept it, basically saying, we see this risk, we understand it, and we've decided it's one we can live with. So, we've walked through govern, map, measure, and manage. But it is so critical to remember what we talked about at the very beginning. This is not a straight line from start to finish. It's a continuous journey.
And this really shows you what the framework is all about. It's a cycle. What you learn in the manage phase feeds right back into your governance. Maybe you find a new risk that makes you rewrite your policies. As the AI system changes and evolves, you have to constantly remap, remeasure, and remanage. It's a living, breathing process, not some document you file away in a drawer.
Look, at the end of the day, the NIST framework is an incredibly powerful guide. It's the map and the compass you need to navigate the super complex world of AI risk. So the real question isn't about the framework itself, it's about you. Is your organization truly ready to start this continuous journey of innovating responsibly? Thanks for tuning in.